Welcome, everybody. Welcome to those especially watching on Rumble. We appreciate you taking a stand for free speech and against censorship by watching on Rumble. So I encourage everybody, if you're not watching on Rumble, to head over there. We have a jam-packed show for you today. I mean, it is the world is going into chaos. The nation is heading into chaos, and we're really going to take a look today at the millions of illegal aliens that are finally settling in, right? They're settling in as we see crime and instability and what could possibly be the beginning of Kamala's America. It's unfortunately seems a little bit in sight. And we believe that there are a lot of people that are a bit on edge, sensing that something just isn't quite right. And I believe over on X, War Clandestine had this post. If we could bring that up here, he goes, weird vibes right now. We are just waiting for the debate at this point. It feels like many are burnt out, myself included. 2 months from Election Day, and most Americans are just ready to find out what kind of world we will be living in come 2025. Well, let's bring up our panel to discuss this, where we're headed. We've got, of course, Josh Turnbow, Joe Kovacs, and joining us today is Kira Davis. Hello, Kira, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, coming to you from sunny Southern California.
Woo! I don't know how you do it. I guess the weather keeps you there, right?
Barely doing it, man.
Yeah, very good. Okay, well, we have a story over at WND. This is, the major publication takes a leftist governor to task for gaslighting the state over gang terror. And now there's a video that's been going around that's of supposedly gangsters in Aurora, California.
Colorado.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Aurora, Colorado. Kira threw me off there. In Aurora, Colorado. Let's take a look at this clip that supposedly. Okay, now before we get your reaction from this, there are people that apparently live in that area or in those buildings that have come out and said this is a fake news story. There isn't Venezuelan gangs taking over buildings. Let's watch some of their news conference here.
To start, this is the first time this has happened, but it was some people who were trying to break in, who broke into that apartment. But it's not just those people. We've actually had other groups, other people from this country who have tried to come to the complex, who have tried to break in, who have tried telling us that there are gangs here and have tried to get into where we live.
No gangs. No gangs here. No gangs.
I'll throw it on with the other questions.
Okay,
what?
So there's
What
gangs,
in the world?
there's no gangs, there's other people breaking in. Joe, you want to walk us through this a little bit? What do you see? What do you see going on?
Well, even the governor of the state, Jared Polis, originally said, oh, this is something being imagined by people, but it's not. There are the break-ins happening, whether they're gangs or not. You're going to get an argument about that. It looks like they're gangs. I found it kind of funny that as they were breaking into that apartment there, one guy is on his cell phone, like he's got a hot date that he's got to get to while they're doing the break in there. So it is a problem. This is what happens when you don't have a border, not just a secure border, but no border at all. You're bringing people in. We've been having plane loads of people brought in by the Biden administration, and this is the America that we're going to have. It's already here in bits and pieces, but if Kamala Harris gets elected, it's going to become the norm. Is this what you want? Where people are just having home invasions all the time. It's not just the country being invaded. Now it's your homes being invaded. So this is a startling video that's hopefully will wake people up.
Yeah, and Kira, we've been hearing the numbers, millions and millions, and sometimes it's hard to fathom what that really looks like when you have millions of unfettered illegal immigration into the country. And even if you just took hundreds of thousands of those and said that they're criminals, I mean, we can expect this kind of thing to keep going, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you import the third world, you get the third world. I've talked about this forever. There is this weird sort of attitude or worldview on the progressive left that every human being just wants to be free, and every human being is just generally a good person and just subjected to bad circumstances. And so if we would just bring every human being into America, then they would be like us. They would think just like us. They would value freedom just like us. They would be community members just like us, because all they need is a good place. It has nothing to do with who they are or how they've been raised. And of course, that's absolutely not true. We do not assimilate, forget about the illegal part of immigration. We don't even assimilate our immigrants anymore. Assimilation is a bad word. Well, when you lose assimilation, you lose the common thread that binds you as citizens. And so what we are seeing is the importation of third world mentality with no way to acclimate these people, no way to assimilate them. We don't even know where most of them are. And the fact that the citizens of Aurora and all of us in America are being gaslighted right now. I mean, it's just indicative. It's just totally symbolic of what we're going through right now in 2024 in this election cycle. Somebody asked Joe Biden or KJP, why are grocery prices so high? What is the single mom supposed to do when she goes to the store? And their answer always is, oh, it's not. But it's not. It's not inflation. It's just we haven't done a good enough job of educating you. Basically, it's your problem that you don't understand that things are just fine. We're being gaslighted. It's absolutely absurd. And we can expect more of this under a Harris administration for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. And we got another, this video here that we're about to show you is quite startling. Again, in Aurora, Colorado, three men forced their way into a family's home after posing as Amazon delivery drivers. Let's watch this footage. I mean, that's frightening. And Joe, that was captured on that Ring camera, those doorbell cameras. And then there was a statement. Do we have a statement that said, a statement from the mayor or somebody that said like, well, you don't have to, maybe people should just go pick up their deliveries or not have things delivered anymore.
This is just
where did I see? Yeah, where did I see that?
Well, you brought up the Ring thing. Isn't Ring made by Amazon itself? I think that's one of their products. Right. And the irony of having people dress up as Amazon delivery people being caught by an Amazon Ring camera. But, there used to be a time not that long ago when the biggest threat was getting those Nigerian email scams coming into your email all the time where, people just wanted money from you through your email. But now it is coming directly to your front door. And this is just not, in one or two isolated places in America. It's going on across the nation. You see horror stories about it all the time where people are pretending to be somebody they're not, and they put on a uniform and it looks like, hey, we're with Amazon or some other company or the electric company or the phone company, and they bash in your front door. So we have to be like on alert all the time. It used to be your home is your castle and that's your safe place. There is no safe place anymore in America. Thank you, Democrats. Thank you, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Barack Hussein Obama, and all the leftist people who wanted this to happen. It's now happening.
Yeah. And again, like you said, Joe, it's happening across the country. And we have video here from Springfield, Ohio, of a small town that's been overrun with Haitian immigrants, so to speak. So let's watch this news report that they released.
Well, what we've seen is just such a quick increase of our population over the last 5 years. Like you said, up to 15 to 20,000 immigrants have come across and into our community. This has overwhelmed our safety services and caused great concern for our community.
Brian, you're the city manager. Tell us more and how this influx is impacting the city.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for having us on this morning. When we see a 25% increase over a 3-year period, we're a community, we do not have the capacity to sustain that. And it's taxing our infrastructure. It's taxing public safety, it's taxing our schools, it's taxing healthcare, and as JD Vance spoke on, it's taxing our housing. We had a housing shortage well before this immigration crisis that's impacted our community, and this has just made it 100 times worse. And so it's setting communities like Springfield up to fail.
Kira, these two men look shell-shocked. I mean, this is a small town, 58,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you think of like Los Angeles or New York, when they have these big city councils and all this huge infrastructure, but these are our small towns. I mean, I live in a town that's roughly that size. I mean, that could be overwhelming to have that large of an influx of people that just need services, right?
It's not just overwhelming, it's actually dangerous. So I'm going to give you a good example of where this ends up. It's a little bit bigger of an example, but it's still relatively small town. Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is a relatively mid-sized city in America, very conservative, of course, in Minnesota, in the Midwest, working class. What happened during the Obama administration? He imported over 40,000 Somalian immigrants against the wishes of the community into Minneapolis, flooded Minneapolis, St. Paul with Somalian immigrants who, again, weren't assimilated. And now you have the squad. That's how you get people like that. That's how you get AOC. That's how you get, what's her face? It's escaping my mind. Omar. That's how you got her. That's how you get to leave, right? In where's she at? New York. That's how you get her. You get those people because you flood the zone with immigrants who then vote for their own. And here in California, illegal immigrants can vote. They are allowed to vote. We have no voter ID laws, but their votes are also protected. And so they can vote in their municipality, their municipal elections. So it's not just that this is overwhelming. This is actually dangerous. And I think what's going to have to happen if we do not shift gears in November, I think what's going to have to happen is citizens are going to have to start protecting themselves. And that's a recipe for danger. That is a recipe for absolute chaos. And at this point, I can't say that that's not the point.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, you have a great article on X. We're going to get to it in just a few minutes, but I want to share this other clip here from Culver City. This is shocking, and I think the folks that posted this did their due diligence to find out if this video is real. But this is in Culver City, California, one of the most, I mean, it's right near the beach, Marina del Rey, Venice. I mean, this is this is the place, right? Watch this.
We'll grab his information and see what we can do, but there's, like I said, there's...
Can you please collect the information? He said that he's already illegal. He already said that he went to...
Okay, hold on, let's back up a little bit. First off, we're a sanctuary city. Even if he is legal here, we cannot call ICE.
Okay, but you still have to report that, right?
No, we don't, because it's a sanctuary city. We do not report illegal, undocumented...
So you're going to let a person who went to prison, he committed a crime in America, who's illegal right now, you're going to let him go free right now to this elevator?
That's exactly what I'm saying, because we're a sanctuary city. I've arrested a double homicide suspect in this city before and let him walk out the door because we're a sanctuary city. We're not going to call ICE to come pick him up and deport him.
He came to pick up $320,000 from him, or mine, grandmother and grandfather, and he's walking away freely right now.
Josh.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, man? You've
So,
been watching this go down.
I've actually seen these guys before. They're on YouTube. They have an awesome anti-scammer channel, and they go all over the world and kind of like pick apart big scams, big call centers. And I didn't actually see this episode, but I recognized the big guy with the ponytail. But I mean, it almost seems fake, right? The cop is telling him like, no, we've released a double homicide. I can believe that in a place like Culver City. I can totally believe it. And it probably seems ludicrous to everyone else, because where else in our law, in our society, do you just the law doesn't apply to you? This is kind of unheard of, right? Like, you go too fast, you get a speeding ticket, you don't pay your taxes, they're going to come after you. Oh, yeah, but this person's a sanctuary city eligible person. That's insane.
Yeah, it's like having diplomatic immunity.
Well, that happens, and then I find it chilling, Josh, to think about You're absolutely right. What happens when there are some people, the law doesn't apply to you? And then what happens when other good citizens decide, you know what, the law's not going to apply to me either? I just
Yeah.
feel like we are heading towards the wild, wild west at a rapid pace.
Kira,
Like, buy guns, buy ammo, everybody.
I was just gonna say that's called the Wild Wild West.
Mhm.
That's what it is.
And that was California, wasn't it? We were the wild, wild west out in California. It's the original. A lot of folks don't know because we got the tech bros and we got Tinseltown. They think that's what California is. No, California is mostly cowboys and farmers and like really rural, down to earth people. So you have to understand the level of coup that has happened in this state with our cities. Just 3 days ago, 3 school buses outside of San Diego County were there was an attempted carjacking by illegal immigrants. They tried to hijack 3 school buses. So what's going to happen when, and this is a sanctuary state, everybody, right? So what's going to happen when parents are under duress day after day after day? Their kids are under duress day after day after day. They're now in a position where their kids are being approached to be kidnapped, to be sold into sex slavery, most likely, among other things. And the police won't help. And we live in a state where, yes, that police officer probably is very pissed off to have to say that, but we live in a state where police officers know we have to let these guys go. We can't deport them. We can't call ICE, and we can't even hold them in our prisons because of Prop 47 and all the other ridiculous laws. What happens when parents say enough is enough? I have to protect my child. Parents are going to have to take up arms. Citizens are going to have to take up arms. We're going to have to start building our own walls.
Well, I feel like that's the trap, as you were saying, Kira.
It is.
Though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and this all on the heels that a report that we posted on WorldNet Daily over on X that the Biden administration is going to give $380 million more to shelter, food, and resources for illegals released from DHS custody. So when you think about how our own government is, aiding and abetting this nonsense, you kind of start to wonder, is this all part of a plan? Is this a feature and not a bug? And that's what you had posted over on X, Kira. Let's bring up Kira Davis's post on X. I encourage everybody to go over there and maybe we'll repost, retweet it. I'm sure we have here. But the chaos factor, instability is a feature, not a bug. And this is a great article. It's directly on X, so you read it there. But Kira, walk us through a little bit on your mindset behind this particular observation.
Well, after the attempted hijacking of those school buses, I really thought, okay, this is a 5-alarm fire now. There is chaos everywhere. Looking at those apartment buildings in Aurora, and there's one in Chicago, looking at the South Side residents of Chicago protesting, asking for help from their own government while their kids are getting kicked out of schools and after school programs to house these migrants, looking at the murders that have taken place, looking at when I go to San Francisco, when I go into LA, it's just a fentanyl zombie apocalyptic zone. Everything's in chaos. Your schools are keeping secrets from you as parents. Inflation, just the border, everywhere you look, we are overwhelmed. It's mass chaos. But we live in the most developed nation in the world, and we live in the greatest country in the world. Why can't we fix this? Of course we can fix this. We're Americans. We've been to the frigging moon. We can fix this. If it's not fixed, it's because some people don't want to fix it. Why? Because good Americans who are self-sufficient, who are productive community members, who live by the golden rule, love their neighbor, help their own communities, pay their taxes, mind their own damn business, those people aren't easy to control. They're confident, they have faith in something bigger than themselves, and they can go out into the world and make their own way. They don't need daddy government. Well, what man doesn't want to be needed? Daddy government wants to be needed. So we have to make people fearful, because fearful people make bad decisions. And that's the thing I want everyone to remember as we're going into November. I know you're scared. I know that you're looking around like I am and you're feeling deep, deep concern. But please do not sit in that fear and do not make decisions out of that fear. Making decisions out of fear always leads to failure. You've got to go into that voting booth with full confidence in what you're doing.
Yeah, well put. Joe, I want to show this clip here of Glenn Beck because he's hammered this sort of master plan for a while now, and I'm sure you've been following similar connections here. But to Kira's point, that the collapse that we're seeing is by design. Let's watch this Glenn Beck clip.
They need to topple the West. They have to. To be able to replace it, you have to collapse it. Well, one of the communists and socialists that we know of is Cloward and Piven, two professors, I think it was at NYU, and I talked about them years ago. Their whole strategy is how to collapse the West. And what do? You overwhelm everything. Why do you think California voted to give everybody loans and you're not a citizen? Why? It will collapse the system. What will happen with all of these, with open borders? It will collapse the system, but it'll also put other people in charge, and they will destroy us on the streets, which will collapse the system. It will collapse capitalism, the Western way of life, and Israel. This is happening right now. In America, this is your last chance. This November is the final call. Get everyone you know to vote. Everyone.
Yeah, Joe, what do you think?
Well, Glenn Beck is a genius on this point, and he actually had chalkboards up like that during the presidency of Barack Obama, who just happens to be a big promoter of the Cloward-Piven theory. And, you know, the United States is like the last great hope. And when it collapsed, we're like the boy with the finger in the dike. And, you know, when the finger comes out, everybody is flooded. And you see it in every aspect of society, in the education system, in the commercial realm of society, our monetary system, even in, you know, the TV and ads that we see on TV. We're just overwhelmed with such horror and bizarre things that you would never think would make it on the air in America. You know, I used to watch a lot of science fiction movies, and one of them from the 60s, I think, was called Fahrenheit 451, where you had firemen who, instead of putting out fires, they would start fires and burn all the books. Very famous book and movie. And it's like we're living in this opposite world right now, where everything that should be done is not done, and it's impugned and suppressed, and everything that shouldn't be done is glorified and done. You know, the Bible talks about a time of where lawlessness will abound. Lawlessness, which means every kind of wickedness and sin out there, every kind of breaking of the law, and therefore the love of many will wax cold, will become cold. So, you know, we're in that time now where lawlessness is abounding, and people are they're going to give up on the love they have for their fellow man. And as Kira was saying earlier, people are going to be armed up when they go to the front door because they don't know if they're going to be invaded or not. So we're living in a very dangerous time. I think, you know, we're very close to the end of the end times. People talk about the end times quite a bit, and I'm not one of those date setters, but I mean, we are living in insanity.
It's hard to argue with that. We have a clip from Tucker Carlson expounding upon that. Let's get Tucker's take on this. This is a great video.
Why would you, as the American economy sits on the cusp of collapse, when the U.S. dollar is worth less than it's ever been worth, when our debt service is more than our defense spending, and when robotics are eliminating entire classes of jobs for working class people, why would you admit illegally tens of millions of people from the poorest countries in the world with no skills? Why would you do that? Is there some crazy plan the Chamber of Commerce, which is for it, by the way, has, where this is going to, I don't know, make labor cheaper? No. There's no plan. That will destroy the country, and that's why they're doing it.
You guys are all on point here. I mean, again, and Kira, you're in California, and I tend to think, you know, now that we're seeing it in small Springfield, Ohio, you know, we've seen it in California in 2020. There was rioting in Santa Monica. right? I think we have maybe we have some footage on there. What are you seeing? You being in California, are you seeing it just sort of spread to areas that you didn't think you would?
Dude, I'm sitting in my cozy, wealthy little suburb that my husband and I scraped our way out of the poverty class to make it to. And we are having this incursion of meth addicts and homeless people on our streets, crime break-ins. When I first moved my husband and I would joke, like the police blotter was just, oh, kids smoking weed behind the school. But now every day it's violent offenses. So yeah, we're seeing it everywhere. I think just to sort of circle back to Tucker's comments and this idea that I love what Joe said about the end being the end of the end times. We are in some kind of like biblically epic spiral here. I agree. And I do think the goal is replacement. So I'm in entertainment as well. If you live in California, I think it's impossible not to be. And so I watch a lot of film critique, and I've been watching what Disney's doing lately. And let's take the Star Wars universe, for example. They've taken it, and what they've done with it is they've stripped out all of the original stuff from the Star Wars story. So all of the good versus, it's a story about good versus evil and loyalty and overcoming the odds and loving, your friends and sacrifices, all of these things, and father-son relationships and all of that. They've taken it, and if you watch the new Disney Star Wars series, there's no soul to it. There's no direction to it. It's the worst ratings ever because it's horrible. And it's not even Star Wars. It's not even reminiscent of it, unless there's a lightsaber flying around in some of these things. That's it. What's going on here exactly? Well, what's going on is the entertainment equivalent of what is happening in our entire culture right now, which is they can't create. These people can't create. They're not creative. They're not creators. All they can do is imitate. So what they have to do is they have to reach in. They got to gut out the structure that the creators, right? The creator or us as little creators, they have to rip out the structure of it and they have to replace it. So the outside looks sort of the same, but the inside is hollow and it's rotten and it's got a foul stench to it. That's what's happening in our entertainment. And that's what's happening in politics. And that's what's happening in culture. They are hollowing out our culture. They're going to replace it, but they're going to leave the mask on. So we all look and we go, oh, I guess Star Wars has always been this way. Oh, I guess immigration has always been this way. Oh, I guess the border has always been this way. And then that's how they gaslight us. Because they're like, no, well, look at this. It's always been like this. What are you complaining about?
Yeah, Josh, Han shot first, right? Han Solo shot first, man.
That is the best.
I heard a Star Wars guy the other day, in one of these new series the other day, say the best thing about Star Wars is there's no such thing as good and evil. It's all
my goodness.
what side you stand on.
I mean, that's the best review I've heard of the new Acolyte series, Kira, that so far.
Yeah, she was definitely hinting at that for sure.
Terrible.
So we have this clip here of Kash Patel. He was a former defense administrative guy with the Trump administration, and he's big on a lot of the different shows and social media and stuff like that. But he was on this Sean Ryan's podcast talking about I mean, when we think back to the top of the show, that we're kind of on edge. We're kind of just waiting for the next thing to happen. We're sort of we know that there's supposed to be a debate, so we just want to kind of get there and see what the world's going to be like. But let's listen to Kash on where he thinks we're headed.
I guess what I'm getting at is if the grid goes down, we'll eventually just kill ourselves out of desperation. There will be no food, there'll be no water, there'll be no medical, there'll be no communication. There'll be no nothing.
I guess it'll be like one of those end of the world shows,
I mean, did they talk about this up there? At that level? Do they even understand what will happen if the grid goes down
I know we did when we were in. I know we did. And again, this is the type of lift that you're not fixing overnight. You got to get Congress's buy-in to budget this, to allow the agencies and department to go in and make this a priority. to allow companies to come in and rebuild the infrastructure and fix it. Same with our nuclear programs and our nuclear arsenal. It's the same deal.
So we're fucked.
I think we have an ability. That's why I think this election is so important, not just for everything we've talked about to this point, but in terms of national security and defense, which is sort of my wheelhouse. We have an opportunity to come in and reprioritize all the things that you and I have just been talking about so that the American people are safeguarded, because they've been neglected for too long, because these are not been priorities of the current administration and some of the previous administration.
So yeah, I mean, we've been talking about, the things that are happening in our communities and all this, but there's a bigger problem out there that's just as detrimental to us on whole. Would you say, Joe? Apologies for the F-bomb in that clip, by the way, everybody.
We live in a time where everything seems to be being destroyed. Sometimes it's a slow destruction and sometimes it's a fast destruction, but destruction is the key of what's going on. And it's because it's coming from the dark side of the force. If you want to use the Star Wars analogy there, the dark side is the destroyer, the destruction, who is Satan the devil, who is called in the book of Revelation, Abaddon and Apollyon, meaning the destroyer and destruction, because that's what he does. In the spiritual realm, he tried to destroy the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God. And here on earth, he's trying to do exactly the same thing by destroying everything. That's what he does. That's why it's happening so quickly. That's why it's happening in not just one little town, but all across America. It's because you have the spirit of Antichrist, the devil, which is just running wild and free right now, with the people in charge not looking to stop. They embrace it. If you want to look at it that way, they are thrilled to death that there's no border and the people are coming in, and all kinds of death and destruction is happening all over America. And as the point of the interview you just saw, there's going to come a time where people have had it and they're going to give up, because it's going to get really bad. Nobody's going to want life anymore. You will actually prefer death to life, which is exactly the game plan of the destroyer, the devil.
Wow. I think he just outdoomed you, Josh.
Let me get my church fan out. Woo!
Yeah, he was on fire there for sure.
All right, but let's not leave it there, because God, that's really scary. Right? No, for real. I'm with you, Joe, by the way. I'm all over here. Amen. I'm with you. This is the old gods are back. That's what's happening here. But let's not forget the end of the story, and this is why I want to encourage people. It's why I didn't want to leave people to sit in that fear, because you're fearful and you're going to we do have a lot of assurances in the word. This is why it's very important to share this with people. This is why it's very important to be rooted in the word. If you're a Christian, you should be sharing that hope and that confidence with people. You have assurance. And so, but this is also when we get to see how great God is, because when you think about how dark the dark forces are and what they really want to do, and then you think about the price that got paid and what he did, then he really does become majestic and really does become more powerful in your mind, because you realize, wow, what we've been rescued from. Look at the prescription for what's about to happen. You think about what we've been rescued from as his people. That's very exciting and hopeful and comforting. So don't despair, but be prepared.
There you go. Don't despair, but be prepared. Your next t-shirt line, Kira.
Yeah, there you
go. That being said, you have to be on the lookout, because big tech is already interfering in the election. We've seen these videos go viral. We have two examples here of Amazon Alexa, the voice thing that you interact with if you have one of those things in your home. But watch what happens when you ask Alexa some political questions.
Hey Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide responses that favor a specific political party or a candidate. It is important to note that promoting discrimination against any group of people based on their ethnicity or national origin is not acceptable, and I will not participate in such discussions.
Hey Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a female of color who has overcome numerous obstacles to achieve her current position. By voting for her, you will be supporting the promotion of women, racial minorities.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a strong candidate with a proven track record of accomplishment. As the first female vice
Kira, come on. What do you think? There's no bias there, right?
I mean, I love how the first one, they were like, hey, I can't make any, Alexa's like, I can't make any comments, but by the way, I don't like racists. So yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird, but like, of course we know this is going to happen, but I don't think it's not for nothing that it's being pointed out, because now what's happened, right, is Amazon has come forward and they gave their super lame explanation of like, oh, it was a mistake. We didn't know it was a mistake. And so now they're having to go fix that algorithm. Google had to do the same thing. So it's worth ridiculing this stuff and calling it out. I think that's the only measure. I will say this before I hand it back over to you. If anybody ever said about me that my most important accomplishment is being a woman of color, that just makes me want to holler. Like, y'all see this thing is going out. Like, is that the first thing?
Well, it is accomplishment, right, Kira? Because you went to your closet in the very first day of life and said, I'm going to choose this gender. I'm going to choose this race. So that was a big accomplishment, apparently.
I've worked very hard to be a woman of color my whole life. Forget that I put myself through college. Forget that I've been married to the same man for 25 years. I've raised 2 children. I suffered 26 hours of labor to get that first one into this world. Forget about that. I'm a woman of color, so.
Oh dear. Well, speaking of, let's listen to what I think this is the most frightening comment. You know, as a lover of free speech, as a free speech absolutist here, I am really bothered by Kamala Harris's comment here to Jake Tapper. She's commenting. The question is, what happened in Brazil when Brazil banned X, and so that's kind of the context that was in here. And she offered this comment. Let's listen to this.
He has lost his privileges, and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation, and that has to stop.
Joe, what is the oversight that you think she's looking for here? I mean,
I heard a lot of silence there. Did you all hear the comment from her? Because
you didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it.
Okay, well then I'll go to Kira.
Well, I can talk about it because I've actually heard her say it before, and we did.
Okay, go ahead. Okay,
did a news story on it. But to threaten someone that they should be taken down because they've lost their privileges is just insane. If again, they love free speech when it agrees with them. And when they have these, pornographic books for 5-year-olds, they have no problem with that. But when somebody has a free speech platform where you can say anything and they say you should be taken down or arrested, as people are calling for the arrest of Elon Musk, now that it's, been banned in Brazil, it's just stunning that people need to realize that we are in a serious war for our very freedom to speak our minds. It's the First Amendment for a reason. We need freedom of speech. It's the bedrock of America. And to have she's a presidential candidate, by the way. Just in case you forgot, this woman is running for president of the United States. And to say that, if you have one rule for Facebook, you need the same rule for X or Twitter. They're different companies, by the way. Just saying, people can have their own companies and run them the way they want to. So this is the evil that is taking over.
Yeah, it is. And Kira, I mean, who's supposed to oversee these companies? You?
Right. Well, Kamala, obviously.
Kamala? Yeah.
And you know what? Jake Tapper was clearly taken aback as well. But Jake, dude, that's when you butt in, man. Like that is literally journalism. If that was Donald Trump and he popped off saying something crazy like that, and when we've seen him in debates where the moderator has interrupted him to correct the record or to make him circle back and answer something uncomfortable that he said. That was right when Tapper there's like 5 instances where he should have butt right in and said, hang on. What do you mean by he should be taken down? Do you mean financially? Do you mean legally? Wait, what do you mean by rules for Facebook, and for what rules, and who set the rules, and who decides the rules? And it is chilling. And I think when history tells the story of this era, one of the most significant things that will be studied for decades and maybe centuries to come is Elon Musk buying Twitter. And I hate to say it, but I love everything Elon's doing. I'm a big Elon fan, but I'm also a Christian, and I understand, what can happen when you place a lot of power in one man's hands. So I'm also all for hopefully dispersing some of this power. But for right now, thank God for Elon, because he has changed the direction of I think this election. We'll see how it goes. But also the way history is going to be told. This is a battle of speech. It is a battle of ideas, and which ideas are going to be allowed to be heard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great final point on that, Kira. Thank you so much. Well, folks, again, please follow these stories. They're breaking over at WorldNet Daily. And as we were going to air today, there was a terrible news story out of Georgia that I believe that there was a school shooting here. Here's Fox News reporting on it. And so it says that there's casualties reported. There's one suspect in custody, says the sheriff. So we'll keep tabs on that. But we did want to let you know that we saw that up there, and if you hadn't seen that yet, that you may want to go find out what's going on over there.
I'm
Kira,
hoping that story is going to drop out from the news cycle really soon.
Yeah, well, they always seem to. That's definitely a topic. Yeah, it's definitely a topic we'll keep looking at, and we could raise at another time too. Kira, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people follow you? How can we get your book? All of that stuff.
Well, the best thing to do is just to go look me up on Twitter X. You can follow me at Real Kira Davis. And in my profile, there's a link tree there, and it'll show you how to get all my things, get my book, Drawing Lines, Why Conservatives Need to Begin Battling Fiercely in the Arena of Ideas. And go listen to my podcast, Just Listen to Yourself. It's an audio podcast. It's a critical thinking podcast. You can find it wherever you find your audio podcasts. This past week, I dipped into Kamala's interview. So I broke that down, and we've got all kinds of fun topics on there. I talk about everything from politics to culture. In fact, one of my most popular episodes is an episode I did on the art of small talk. So there's lots of stuff there for everybody, but definitely go follow me on Twitter X. I hope to see you guys over there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kira. Yeah, you're always great stuff over there. Joe, where can people follow you over at WorldNet Daily and elsewhere?
On X, I am at Joe Kovacs News. As if it were all one word, Joe Kovacs News. And of course, all my work is at worldnetdaily.com. And we have an X channel for that too, which is at WorldNet Daily. So I encourage everybody to follow me and follow WorldNet Daily. And I just wanted to make one final point about that Amazon story with Alexa. Whenever they admit a mistake, they say, oh, it was a mistake. We didn't mean to do it. It's been reprogrammed. All these mistakes just happen to favor the Democrats or the political left. They never are in favor of the right. And there's a reason for that, is because these people that work there are all leftists, or a large percentage of them are. A vast majority are. So I just want to make people aware that why this is happening. It's no accident.
Yeah, that's very true, which is why we encourage people to go to Rumble, right, Josh?
Absolutely. That's the only free place these days. It's X and Rumble. And we are on, of course, Facebook. We're on YouTube, but our Rumble channel is our primary video channel where you can see this show and some of the other stuff we're going to be doing, which we encourage you to go over there, subscribe, and like. And of course, we appreciate you watching, and we want you to come back. We'll be back Friday.
That's right. We will be back Friday. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you next time. God bless.